The Tigers are massive favorites this week against South Carolina. What does that tell us about Mizzou and quarterback LaNorris Sellers for the Gamecocks? Let's get into it on Locked On Mizzou.
You are Locked On Mizzou, your daily podcast on the Missouri Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, all you true sons and daughters, I'm John Miller, your Mizzou mafioso and the central scrutinizer of Missouri Tigers football and basketball, and some more praise needs to be heaped Ahmad Hardy's way, quite honestly, after that huge performance against Louisiana. Also want to clear up some confusion regarding Dylan Stewart, the excellent pass rusher from South Carolina, what his status is for the Missouri game coming up here in just a little bit. I do want to remind you this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and this college football season, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. And speaking of FanDuel, would you believe Missouri is favored by 12.5 points against South Carolina right now over at FanDuel.com? Now, I'll say this. If Missouri is maybe a little bit underrated by the polls right now, and I think that they are, 23rd in the AP poll, by the way, I think that Missouri is closer to 10th than they are 23rd, quite honestly, at this point. I think a lot of projection systems actually would agree with me there. But I have to say I'm surprised on a couple of different levels here. Number one, I'm surprised that there's a line at all posted for Missouri and South Carolina, because to me, LaNorris Sellers, the South Carolina Gamecock quarterback, his status to me right now is a complete and total mystery. No matter what no matter what Shane Beamer, yes, Frank's son, the South Carolina coach, no matter what Shane Beamer says, I just don't think you can put a lot of stock in it at the moment. Beamer himself admits, hey, I don't get into specifics on injuries and all that stuff. So why would I really take much stock on Beamer saying that he's optimistic that Sellers is going to play this week? He said we're optimistic on both of those guys for this week, referring to Sellers and also right tackle Kason Henry as well. And when asked if it was a concussion, well, again, Beamer didn't get into specifics. I'll just say, for those of us who are watching the South Carolina-Vanderbilt game, you saw the highlights. Well, when Sellers exits the game with a helmet-to-helmet contact there, Beamer loses his stack, getting angry at the referees for this moment. We don't see Sellers the rest of the game. He's ruled out. Well, I think it's pretty fair when people start to speculate, yeah, that might have been a concussion for certain. So, again, in a lack of actual information here, if Shane Beamer's not going to share with us anything here, well, I think it's fair to speculate that, yes, LaNorris Sellers got a concussion in that football game. So, if indeed Beamer is being truthful here, well, it is quite possible that Sellers maybe woke up the next day and felt good, had a good Sunday. Maybe he is hopefully going to have a good Monday and stack a bunch of good days on top of each other without concussion symptoms. And that's the key there. And that's why I would say that at this point, you really can't say anything about LaNorris Sellers, because even if he has, and by he, I mean anyone. If anybody who's suffered a concussion, I've had one before, and, well, I had some actual memory loss from that day, real, sensitivity to light, that kind of stuff, real obvious concussion, post-concussion symptoms that then the next day and the days after that completely went away, fortunately for me. Now what I know about concussions, which is, I'm a layman, that's for certain. But what I do know is that those symptoms can come and they can go. So it's going to take more than just one day for you for Shane Beamer or anybody else to make a definitive statement about LaNorris Sellers. And to be fair to Shane Beamer, what's he supposed to say? he can't really rule him out either, even if Sellers did have some more concussion symptoms over the next day or two. Well, if he stacks 3-4 days in a row of having no concussion symptoms, listen, I'm not a neurologist or anything, but maybe that says he's good to go. My point here is not to get into too many specifics. It's just to say that obviously this is a moving target right now. As I speak here on a Monday morning at about 10:40 a.m., I don't think we can say one way or the other if Sellers is going to play. So I have to say it surprises me to see a 12.5-point line here. And if anything, I think that number tends to lean towards Sellers not playing in the ball game. But beyond Sellers, I have to say that was an alarming performance by the Gamecocks at home. For one, South Carolina's offense, even with Sellers, has looked, I would say, very good on its opening 2 possessions, for instance, against Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech. Hey, Bill Belichick's opening offense looked pretty good against TCU, and we all know how that game turned out. So sometimes those opening scripted drives can go very well, but other than that, I have to say the Gamecocks offense, again, even with Sellers under center, taking shotgun snaps, however you want to put it, they've been pedestrian offensively to me. And by the way, let's bring up Dylan Stewart as well, a young man who's an incredibly talented pass rusher on the other side of the ball for South Carolina. Well, I saw some erroneous reporting out there, including from famously Garnet Sports. This was one of those tweets that went out there. He said, quote, with Dylan Stewart being ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct, he will be forced to sit out the first half next week against Missouri. Well, that is just simply incorrect and was confirmed as being wrong by Shane Beamer. He said the SEC told him specifically that Stewart is good to go next week against Missouri. Now, the confusion there, I think, is pretty obvious because when a player is ejected for a targeting violation, then indeed, like if that would have happened, if that was a targeting violation in the fourth quarter on Stewart, then indeed that report would have been correct. But for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, that's not the same thing. Despite the fact that, yes, Stewart was ejected from the ball game, unlike a targeting penalty, that does not carry over into the next game. So, simply put, Dylan Stewart, good to go against Missouri. LaNorris Sellers, though, optimistic as Shane Beamer might be, I've just got my hands and palms up in the air at this point. I'm not really sure what to make of Shane Beamer at this point. What I do make of Missouri being a huge 12.5-point favorite, despite maybe there being some optimism, but certainly a lot of mystery still on LaNorris Sellers, is that FanDuel Sportsbook, one of my longtime partners here, is tired of losing money on the Missouri Tigers. Missouri 3-0 against the spread so far. And while, again, I don't think Missouri may be getting quite enough respect in the polls so far, that 12.5 number is frankly shockingly large to me and a massive amount of respect for Missouri and, well, a little bit of fading the Gamecocks, I would say as well. Not just based on the injuries, but South Carolina just hasn't performed very well. Not up to snuff, not up to expectations so far this season. I think that's a pretty fair evaluation so far at this point. And I'd forgive all of you for thinking that maybe I was a little bit nuts in the offseason for saying that Ahmad Hardy was a bit of a dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate. Well, so far through 3 weeks, Ahmad Hardy is your nation's leading rusher. So do you think maybe he's got an outside shot at the Heisman? Well, you tell me. I'll tell you this, Ahmad Hardy so far is exactly who I thought he was. I've got some great numbers for you on just how good Hardy has been coming up for you here in just a second. But speaking of great numbers, how about the game cap? Yes, a hat just like the one I'm wearing here. You can get it for $16.99. How about that for a number? And these are just some great throwback looks. If you're a child of the 90s or perhaps even the 80s like myself, guess what? These babies not only still look great, they still go for the same price they did back in the day. When you use code Locked On, you will get this vintage hat or one very similar to it. Lots of different varieties out there for you Missouri fans for just $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game. And caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. And I just love how portable they are, quite honestly. They fit right in my golf bag, helps me power through the backside and keep that concentration on point. And enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Tell you, this Heisman race still pretty wide open if you ask me. Carson Beck, your favorite right now over at FanDuel. John Mateer second, then Gunnar Stockton of Georgia, by the way. Jeremiah Smith 12-1. I think that's probably my favorite odds or value at the moment. Stockton was impressive, by the way, before you start completely making fun of that number. Garrett Nussmeier 17-1 has kind of fallen back a bit. Joey Aguilar, interesting. Missouri's Bo Pribula at 30-1, just ahead of Arch Manning now, by the way, to give you some idea there. Ahmad Hardy, not listed, though, by the way. And I have to say I'm a little bit surprised at that, considering Hardy is your nation's leading rusher, by the way, and that 250-yard performance against the Ragin' Cajuns on Saturday. That is the top individual rushing effort of the FBS season so far, where he didn't even play in the fourth quarter, by the way, where Marquise Davis racked up another, what was 115-something plus yards for him as well. So to me, even though he's not listed right now, is if Ahmad Hardy keeps this up, if he's truly, let's just say he's the SEC's leading rusher on what is looking like, say, a 10-plus win caliber Missouri team right now. I predicted him to go 9-3 in the offseason just before the season started. I think I'm going to have to amend that slightly. I think I'm going to go 10-2 right now for the Tigers, and that might even be being slightly conservative, to be honest with you. But let's say this is another 2023 type season for Missouri. Is it really that hard to believe that Ahmad Hardy can put up Cody Schrader-like numbers and find himself at least, finishing 7th in the voting like Schrader did that season, and really an outside chance that he could do even better than that, I would say. Again, not only is Hardy the leading rusher, but he's doing it. He's doing it a lot when the rushing, when the blocking isn't necessarily there. Obviously, hey, Marquise Davis getting a bunch of yards in the fourth quarter. I'm not saying Missouri's run blocking wasn't good. It was good in the ball game. But even when it's not good, well, Ahmad Hardy can still be great because according to Pro Football Focus College, not only was Hardy their top graded rusher this past weekend, Hardy had 167 yards after contact, and that includes 12 missed tackles forced by Ahmad Hardy in the game. So if you give him great blocking, boy, he's basically going to give you a first down and maybe something even bigger than that. But even if the blocking isn't perfect, he tends to fall forward and get positive yardage. He's a power back who can be explosive too. He's kind of got the complete package. And by the way, again, the freshman looked pretty good. Marquise Davis as well. By the way, Jamal Roberts didn't have as many carries in this ball game, but obviously a huge play in the passing game when Pribula threw out of what looked like a sure sack there. So the Tigers, again, just loaded with talent at lots of places on the field right now. Obviously, running back is one of them. I will say this, if you're going to talk about weaknesses on Missouri, you still got to say pass protection. It's definitely something that Eli Drinkwitz has looked at and focused on and criticized post-game this week. I will say this, if your pass protection is not a strength, well, I think you've got the right quarterback and the right offense to counteract some of that weak protection, because not only is Pribula mobile, he can get that football out of his hands quickly. And by the way, that is what this Missouri offense generally designs out of their passing game. Quick decisions, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, let him play point guard as much as possible. Obviously, another weakness, I think you got to say at this point, is field goal kicking. Unfortunately, that 41-yarder, yeah, it had the distance by Robbie Meyer, just wasn't all that close, to be brutally honest with you. Wide right was the kick. It's got to be a question mark at this point, at the very least. Hopefully it'll get better as the season goes along, but a question mark for at least South Carolina and in the near future, it has to be realistic. Also, as good as the Missouri defense has been, well, they've given up some big plays, haven't they? That 84-yard touchdown run was very much out of character for the rest of the ball game, as the Tigers allowed basically nothing else on the ground in that game. And there really have been very few 80-plus yard type of plays throughout the country this season. So kind of odd to see, it really is, because really Missouri's given up some big plays in the passing game as well, notably, well, against Kansas, of course, a couple times. You just wonder what that is. Is that just luck of the draw to some point? To me, the one thing I continue to look at is whether it's Marvin Burks or whoever it is who is, especially if you're going to be the single high safety, if you're going to truly be the last man back, then be the last man back. I thought Marvin Burks, for the most part, played a really good game against Kansas looking back on it. There was the one time in the red zone from about Missouri's 20 did Kansas have the ball, where they fake a toss to the left side, They fake a run play that way. The flow of the play all goes that way. Marvin Burks comes up in run support, and then the pass goes right over the top of him for a Jayhawk touchdown. Again, this is just me. Maybe some defensive coordinator out there will disagree with me. But to me, if you're the single high safety, be the single high safety. Especially in 2025 football, I need you to be playing pass defense. Especially on Missouri, where our front seven is a real strength. Jeremiah Trotter looks like one of the best run defenders at linebacker in the entire country right now. Let him worry about the run game. You need to worry about the back end. That's one of my absolute criticisms there, but it should be a criticism that can be fixed. It just seems like we're kind of on, season 1.5 of worrying about it a little bit. And coming up on the program, an unfortunate update on Sam Horn, plus Bo Pribula, I hope at least, got one out of his system, and some crazy defensive stats from the past week against Louisiana. Before I get there, though, I want to tell you about PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, PrizePicks is so simple. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in fewer than 60 seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. It's PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And you know what? My college picks have been pretty good so far. The 2 NFL picks I've given out so far, well, lost by a half a point, did the Saints. Darn it, that half a point is an awfully big deal over in the NFL, isn't it? Also, the Chiefs, 0-2. That division bet not looking like a great value at the moment, is it? But regardless, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And Missouri quarterback Sam Horn, as well we probably feared, is out for the season per Pete Thamel of ESPN, underwent surgery to repair a fractured tibia. So I will say that is better than a torn knee ligament in the long term, simply because, well, especially when you're 21, whatever Sam is, a very young man, obviously, well, that bone heals back actually stronger often than it was before. You can't necessarily say that about your tendons in your kneecaps and that type of a deal. So really, obviously, this is a bummer in the short term. Long term, this shouldn't really hurt Sam too much, at least in his baseball or his football career, if he continues to have one. For the millionth time, Sam can come back for one more season and play at Missouri football and Missouri baseball if he would like. I think if I were him at this point, I think I would move on and play for the Dodgers, try to jumpstart my baseball career at this point. But you know what? Sam Horn's love for football is pretty obvious, and I'd love to have him back. I really would. So whatever Sam wants to do, I'm going to be rooting for him regardless. And speaking of things that were bad in the short term, maybe okay in the long term, that throw by Bo Pribula was a mistake. Drinkwitz said it himself. Hey, that ball shouldn't have been thrown, basically. You know, as a quarterback, you're always trying to find the line of aggression, of obviously being aggressive enough to move the chains and put points on the board, but also not too aggressive to the point where you're throwing the ball to the other team. So for Pribula to get an interception out of his system, I think, against Louisiana, probably better then than early in the ball game next week in the Mayor's Cup, let's just say. So not a huge deal to me there. In fact, I'm going to squint and see a tiny positive there, plus some more positives from the Missouri defense. Number one, that is a very healthy unit right now. For the most part, hey, other than Sam Horn, other than Blake Craig, this team has been off to a really healthy start. Knock on wood there, obviously. But one of the reasons there, the Missouri defense has been able to rotate so many players that against Louisiana, in fact, no one on defense played more than 26 snaps. Stephen Hall, the Missouri corner, actually led the team with 26 on that side of the ball, but for the most part, it was just a constant rotation of fresh bodies into the game. My only concern would be, hey, the more you go into four-quarter type of games, will the Missouri starters be ready to play all 4 quarters of football? That's, again, the delicate balance you're always trying to find there in football, not only just in terms of being conservative, being aggressive, but also, hey, how much risk do we actually put our players in? I think a lot of fans thought that, hey, we put, Sam Horn at a little bit too much risk. I was kind of more of the mind of, he's got to get hit eventually, that type of thing. I don't think there ever is the perfect or right answer, unfortunately. But hey, thanks as always for making this show your first listen every day, by the way. For your second listen, definitely check out the kickoff show, the Locked On College Football Kickoff Show on Fire TV every Thursday. Gary Patterson, Jesse Holly, our bevy of experts, a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. And until next time, I'm John Miller. This has been Locked On Mizzou.